Extra, extra, hear all about it. Extra, extra, hear all about it. Purple Mafia has returned during Pro Bowl week. And on a Friday night, Purple Mafia? Yeah, because extra, extra, hear all about it. Remember when I closed the show last week, conference finals, we have the Super Bowl set, Seattle versus the New England Patriots. And, there's no way I'm going to do a show unless really huge news happens like Kevin O'Connell gets fired. Well, Kwesi Adofo Mensah got fired instead. Yeah, that's pretty big news. I'd say that's big enough to do a podcast during Pro Bowl week, but on a Friday night because might as well do it today. Oh, and by the way, the Twins also parted ways with their president of baseball, basically the general manager, the player personnel guy. Yeah, so they'll have a new leader at some point in the not too distant future as well. So the Minnesota Twins and the Minnesota Vikings firing their, just kind of like general manager, even though it's called president of baseball, but it's the same thing. You get the idea. Within a half hour of each other. What are the odds of that? Two franchises, major franchises that both started in 1961, firing the player personnel leaders within a half hour of each other on the same day? Weird. In the baseball, the timing, you think the timing's weird here. You think the Vikings would have moved on from like the Wilfs will say, the Vikings ownership, Minnesota Vikings ownership. The Wilfs would have moved on from Kwesi, Black Monday, Black Tuesday, Black Thursday, whatever, that next week after the regular season came to a close. Then it's wild card week. No, nothing. Other coaches are getting fired along the way. Coach after coach getting fired after playoff disappointments and such. General managers getting fired, but that's usually the first week before wild card, like you're bleeding into wild card week. Okay, divisional round. Nothing. Yeah, nothing. Championship Sunday week. Nothing happened. Okay, well, the Super Bowl matchup is set. Nothing. Okay, Friday about 11:30 or 11 or whatever the heck time it would be. Kwesi Adofo Mensah fired. Oh, and by the way, the Twins general manager was fired about a half hour before. What the heck? Okay, yeah, so there it is. The Minnesota Vikings moving on. To be honest with all of you, the Twins won, definitely, yes, absolutely. I don't think it was like 10 years of disappointment, I thought, for the most part, with Derek Falvey. So we can talk about Derek Falvey here as well, since I don't have a Twins podcast, and I don't plan on having one. Occasionally I'll talk Minnesota Twins a teeny tiny bit here on Purple Mafia, because it's kind of like the two oldest franchises in Minnesota, most established franchises kind of together here. So part of that cough there came out of nowhere. But yeah, Derek Falvey, I was disappointed. He was supposed to be this great pitching expert and analytic this and analytic that, and bringing in all these great pitchers. Yeah, he brought in a couple. I like Joe Ryan and Pablo. They traded away their star second baseman for him, which was a bit surprising, but it happened. Nice acquisition and everything. But the drafting of the pitchers, not so great. They traded for Joe Ryan. They traded for Pablo. That's fine. Outside of that, though, it was just kind of felt like disappointment after disappointment, and this promising draft pick ended up being hurt all the time, and this promising draft pick ends up being hurt all the time, and this promising draft pick ends up being hurt all the time, and we finally give up, and then two organizations later, oh, he's an all-star, what was it, Brent Rooker, stuff like that. So it's like, okay, when are we going to move on from this guy? And you're hoping, because it's like he's overrated, he's not really, and it feels like he's too much in control of everything, pretty much, inadvertently maybe throwing. He was maybe throwing Rocco Baldelli under the bus without really meaning to, just kind of but being too much in control, being micromanaged in terms of what Rocco Baldelli was probably feeling at times under Derek Falvey. Nobody likes to be micromanaged. Let me tell you, if you're in charge of people, don't micromanage them, because you know what? They're going to hate you. And you know what's going to happen when people hate you or dislike you? You're not going to get their best. That's a fact. So don't do it. Recommendation: don't do it. But we'll leave that small piece of dirty laundry somewhere else. Derek Falvey out for the Minnesota Twins, and then it's here comes the Schefter report. Dun. Kwesi Adofo Mensah fired as Vikings GM. Huh? What? What? And it's it's always right before I'm leaving for work. It's just come on, man. And it's a Friday, random Friday, heading into the afternoon. So always the biggest news happens right when I'm about to head to work. And it's that figures. Now I can't get on the mic and talk about it or anything, but at least you have time to kind of listen to people. But at the same time, you can't listen a whole lot because you're at freaking work, with your people. Interrupting you every 10 seconds. There's no way you can listen to anything. You can't listen to anything because you're busy at work. It's wonderful. Just wonderful situation with that. But yeah, I don't know. Do I agree with the Derek Falvey firing / mutual parting of ways? Of course. I'm very actually happy about it. I like I like Tom Pohlad better than pretty much any Pohlad that's existed so far. Carl Pohlad was kind of old, was kind of a cheap old man. Not a bad person, but cheap. It felt like he was just on the cheap side. Jim Pohlad was a little more generous, but milquetoast. And I don't know. He just seemed like a milquetoast owner for a long time. Like where he became like the governor of the franchise. It's been the Pohlads. Joe Pohlad was like, I don't know. It was not good at all. I don't know. I mean, I think all he did was really piss off the fans, making decisions that were just rash and unnecessary, including the ridiculous. I almost said a different word that starts with an R-E, ridiculous new logo and hats and everything. And I just, no, let's go back to the classic look or something else. I don't know. I don't like it at all. We look like the Miami Marlins as the Twins. It looks stupid. I hate it. Hate it. Okay, so... And then Tom Pohlad, seems like a heck of a lot better. So, seems a heck of a lot better. I never thought the Twins would fire Derek Falvey. I thought it would have to be the new owner, and I was hoping there was going to be a new owner, and then there hasn't been. But Tom Pohlad's been a breath of fresh air in comparison. We'll see how that turns out. To the Vikings, though, do I agree with the Kwesi Adofo Mensah? Sorry it took this long to actually talk about the Viking part more directly now. It's going to be 100% Vikings here. Sorry it took that long, but... Do I agree with Kwesi Adofo Mensah being let go? Yes. Do I feel bad about it? Of course. Seemed like a very nice guy and everything. And obviously, it's not necessarily about who's a nice guy and who isn't. Like Zimmer wasn't a nice guy, and nobody felt sorry for him in the end because he's just too much. How do you, you're going to give Kellen Mond a chance do you want to see what he can do? Not particularly. Any reason why? I see him every day. It's like, that's kind of harsh. But then again, he was heading into his last week as Vikings coach, so it's like, what the bleep do I care? So that's basically what he was telling you. I suppose I would feel the same way at that stage. But anyhow, Kwesi Adofo Mensah. Weird, awkward situation. It was strange enough with the Twins. Now I go back again, waiting until, was it 2 weeks before training camp starts when you could have fired him or moved on in, November, December or something? What are we doing? Why are we waiting so long? That's really strange. It's just in over my... I have no idea what the heck took so long there, other than, I guess, discussions behind the scenes. And in this case, again, like I talked about earlier in the show already, Wild Card Week, Division Week, Championship Sunday Week. Now, finally, the Super Bowl matchup is set, and you wait all the way through this week practically, when it's practically time for the Pro Bowl games, as they call them now, and now you fire Kwesi Adofo Mensah. It's like, why'd you wait so long? I don't know. Clearly, listening to the Mark Wilf press conference, Mark Wilf representing the Vikings ownership, of course. He's the best speaker by far, and he's good. I like him. I haven't met him, but he's good. You can tell. The reason for the firing, pretty much a cumulative decision and just cumulative results along the 4 years of Kwesi's time as the general manager of the Minnesota Vikings. They also mentioned that there will be nobody else being let go. They're hanging on to everybody else, including Rob Brzezinski, who will be taking over the draft for this year. Draft, obviously free agency as well. He's kind of the money genius. Also, when Mark Wilf was asked about is Rob Brzezinski being a candidate for the general manager position, he certainly didn't brush it aside. So I don't think Rob Brzezinski is going to be the general manager of the Vikings, but you never know. He's probably, they're at least open to it, basically, is what Mr. Wilf was saying. And the conversation, again, cumulative effect of the drafts. It wasn't one draft pick. It wasn't one this. It wasn't one free agent signing. It was, kind of, in a way, a much friendlier version of what happened to Mr. Paul Fenton with the Minnesota Wild, but a friendlier version because Paul Fenton apparently was the biggest creep. He was just mean, not creep. He's not like Norm Green where he was literally like creepy, but he was just a mean person, just an awful person. And he wasn't really that good at being a general manager either. Like he made like weird mistakes that kind of cost the Wild roster spots. It was really weird mistakes, and they called it death by 1,000 cuts. It wasn't this one draft pick. It wasn't this one free agent signing. It wasn't this one fight they had, like fight he had with the reporter. It was all of it, that kind of thing, when it came to Paul Fenton. Whereas with Kwesi, it's all kind of personnel decisions, the whole thing. Like, it's just, I don't know, just with all due respect, he kind of failed as a general manager. He just failed. He gets an F, a D minus or whatever, and it's like C minus or a D plus. That's probably about what he is, like a D plus. And it's like, not trying to be a jerk to the guy, but maybe he's more of an assistant general manager, kind of like what he sort of was in San Francisco before. Maybe that's kind of what he was. And Paul Fenton that's pretty much what he ended up becoming, or like a head scout or something for the Florida Panthers, I believe, and they wound up winning the Stanley Cup. So go Paul Fenton, I guess. But in Paul Fenton's case, yeah, he treated people like dirt. Anytime a report of somebody being hurt came out, he would be like, "How did this get out?" And he would like flip out and scream at people and stuff and threaten people's jobs. Now, Kwesi didn't do that. But again, death by 1,000 cuts in terms of this draft pick didn't work out, and this draft pick, and this one, and this free agent move just didn't seem to work out. And it just, again, like I said, like more like a D minus or D plus maybe type of a grade you'd give him. And if you're the Minnesota Vikings and you're hoping to finally end a almost 60-year drought of winning a championship. In fact, this is the Super Bowl 60. So it's been longer than a 60-year drought. They were around before the Super Bowls even, back in 61. But, getting to the Super Bowl and losing Super Bowl IV and never winning ever, all this long drought for this franchise. Yet a team that's won, has had about as many playoff appearances as any team in the history of football. I believe we have the best record of any NFL team in history without a championship of any kind. So best record of all time, like win-loss record without championships, stuff like that, playoff appearances. It's a very historical franchise, the Minnesota Vikings, but no Super Bowls. And we haven't even been to one in what will be 50 years now. So next year will be the 50-year anniversary of the last time the Vikings made it. And of course, it was by far the most feeble effort they ever gave in a Super Bowl. They were awful in their final Super Bowl appearance. The Raiders killed the Vikings, unfortunately. It was terrible. And outside of the Chiefs kind of like having that great game against the Vikings and them being a lot better than probably everybody expected at the time, way back in 69, the Vikings ran into dynasties. They ran into the Dolphins, winning, they came off a perfect season the year before and won their second straight Super Bowl. Unfortunately for them, they haven't come close since then, other than 84 and getting whooped by Joe Montana and the Niners in 84, like I just said. And then you ran into the steel curtain, like the real one, not like the, not the one with whatever their names are, the Pittsburgh Steelers in the mid, not the Pittsburgh Steelers with Ben Roethlisberger is what I'm trying to say. Not that team with a pretty good defense, like the real one back in the 70s. That's a dynasty. And then the Raiders were an upcoming dynasty. They were the Oakland Raiders. They became the LA Raiders a few years, and they like pretty much into the 80s and all that, and it led halfway through the 90s, but moved back to Oakland and out of Vegas. But yeah, they were they were like the next dynasty for that late 70s, early 80s period, where they won a few Super Bowls there, the Oakland/Los Angeles Raiders at the time. So again, it's a franchise that's ran into brick walls. The 85 Bears, the Vikings were really good, but they couldn't get past the 80s Bears, the Chiefs, the 80s 49ers team, not the Chiefs, the Giants. You had all kinds of tough teams in the way in the 80s. San Francisco 49ers, Washington Redskins, Chicago Bears, New York Giants. It was tough. Not making excuses. I mean, the team should get over the hump one of those years, and they almost did in 87. But unfortunately, a kind of a pass thrown a bit low, but also not caught by the famous running back at the time. Not too famous, but it wasn't Herschel Walker as the other one. Yeah, it was unfortunate circumstances there. But, yeah, it's a franchise that's been dying for something positive to happen. Let's look at Kwesi's record. I know I've been babbling and babbling here and looking at history almost more than anything else. Thanks to CBS News, at least, to kind of track the record from the 22 draft up into 24, and then we'll jump into 25 with NFL, well, Pro Football Reference sounds a little bit more accurate. Yep, so this was leading into this, the 25 draft. Things started out terribly. You took Lewis Dean and passed on a much better safety that ended up having a great career so far. Lewis Dean with the last pick in the first round, of course, trading down and winding up with Lewis Dean. A lot of people are like, "Who's Lewis Dean? Lewis Dean? Is he going to be? Is he going to be the next Harrison Smith?" Not even close. Andrew Booth ended up being a massive disappointment. Second round, he was the 42nd pick overall in the draft. A high second round pick. Andrew Booth, massive disappointment. Didn't do anything, basically. I'm not sure he's still in the league. Ed Ingram was a guard in the second round. Turned out to be pretty lousy as well, God bless him, but ended up not working out at all. The previous drafted guard by Mr. Spielman, who also had not worked out. Now, Ed Ingram, okay, this one will be better. No, he wasn't better. He was pretty lousy. Finally might have got it right with Donovan Jackson, but, well, it's too little too late. Brian Asamoah, ooh, this one's going to be an exciting, maybe, here we go. This one's an interesting pick. Ooh, let's see what happens. And it just never, ever became anything. It's like, come on. Caleb Evans, what did he ever really do? I don't know. He was good at the beginning, and then things kind of dropped off, and I don't know. Ended up getting waived by the team in 2024. Carolina Panthers eventually. Osazi Atamimo, this is 2022 again. Well, he appeared in 5 games, let go in 23 before the season started. And, well, he's been with the Steelers for a while. Ty Chandler, again, speedster running back, could be on special teams. Had some lousy moments, though. Primary kick returner, but then started fumbling and stuff and disappointing. I don't know. Yay. I don't know. You don't expect too much out of a 5th-round running back, but sometimes you're hoping for something. Vidarian Lowe, tackle, 6th round. I don't know, 4 regular season games, and was traded for a low pick and basically a 6th-round pick for a 6th-round pick. Like, yay. Jalen Naylor ended up being a pretty nice one. 6th round, 191 total. He's pretty good. That's a pretty nice pick. So there's something that kind of hit a little bit. Obviously a terrible draft, and Jalen Naylor ends up being the only one that really ended up being anything all that special. Yeah, Ed Ingram started a number of games. He was lousy for the most part. Asamoah was okay, but got beaten out by a guy that wasn't even drafted. Caleb Evans had some moments, but generally speaking, things kind of got worse. Nick Muse was an interesting tight end that was taken in the 7th round, but didn't amount to a whole lot, and got a ring with the Philadelphia Eagles not long after that. So good for him. Excuse me, I can't breathe. 2023, well, the guy I endorsed at 23, the 23rd pick was Jordan Addison. That was a nice pick. Unfortunately, off the field issues, but I'm not blaming Kwesi for that. Nice draft pick, very talented player, and I even endorsed him. I was like, yeah, let's take Jordan Addison. And it's like, cool, that was kind of exciting. Nice pick. Mekhi Blackman ended up being I thought a pretty good pick. Took a little while to get going, but once he did, it's like, he's pretty good. He's a nice player. Then unfortunately, the guy gets hurt in the first practice of 2024 in July, before the very first training camp, like before my birthday even, ACL. And then the Vikings weren't willing to really bring him back, let him go as a free agent, and wound up signing with Colts and did pretty well this year. So kind of sad. I thought that was a pretty good 3rd-round pick, 102 overall. Jay Ward, he's okay. I don't know. Just okay. Had some moments, but generally speaking, nothing all that special. He's still with the Vikings. 4th-round pick, 134 overall in 2023. Jacqueline Roy. I don't know. Nose tackle. 12 games for the Vikings in 2023. I barely even remember it. And I'm the host of Purple Mafia, and I barely remember Jacqueline Roy. I barely even remember him. Released by the Vikings in August 24. Signed with the Patriots practice squad. 6 games with that crappy Patriots team. That was a terrible team in 24, don't forget. And has been out for an extended period. Jaron Hall, yeah, 5th round quarterback and looks like a guy that's probably a practice squad guy at best. I don't know. There's just nothing there. He did have he ended up starting a couple of games after Kirk Cousins tore his Achilles. But I don't know. I don't see a whole lot for Jaron Hall, or from Jaron Hall. This is the 23 draft again, 5th round, 164. Dwayne McBride, kind of thought you'd take a flyer on this 7th round pick, who was like a general running back, didn't really do a whole lot, or didn't really offer much of a receiving game or a blocking game. Just a general running back, kind of like Adrian Peterson, who might have had a fumbling problem as well. Ended up being cut in 2024. Really never did anything at all. So that's that. There's that. 2024, J.J. McCarthy, 1st round pick, 2010. This is the most exciting draft in Vikings in Kwesi's history, I'd have to say. Really enjoyed that draft. You saw some promise, then you saw some weird behavior, and I don't know. I don't think it's a terrible draft pick, but we're going to have to wait and see with that one. It's like an incomplete. Dallas Turner's a bit incomplete as well. It took forever to get him going, but now that he has been going, he looks awfully promising. Tyree Jackson, we'll never know. Awful story. Just awful. I mean, it was a wonderful story at the time. Cornerback, and the Vikings needed a cornerback badly. 4th round pick, 108. Then the poor guy dies a couple of days after July 4th in the middle of the night. And again, nothing good happens after midnight pretty much when you're out, I don't know, quote unquote, having a good time. It's just, I don't know, it's sad. And it wasn't his fault at all. He was a passenger in a car. But still, it's kind of like, do you need to be there, or do you want to just go home? I don't know. Your professional career is right around the corner. One of the saddest stories ever. He had pretty much given up on football, and then people encouraged him, get back in it. Ends up getting drafted by the Minnesota Vikings, and my God, he had his whole life ahead of him and dies in a terrible accident. Like two cars kind of driving like goofballs, basically. And the girl kind of accidentally knocked them off the road or something, and they hit some tree stumps. And let me tell you, I hit a electric pole going, I don't know. I just kind of nudged over the curb. I was barely going any speed, but I accidentally hit the gas pedal, so things got faster. And hitting a telephone pole, I mean, I hit my chest pretty damn hard, man. And just imagine going at like a high speed into tree stumps where you go from, I don't know, 70, 80, 90, who knows how fast they were going, into a complete stop. I mean, it's awful. Like, you won't even know it hit you, man. You're just gone. You're dead. Plucking harps in the clouds, I mean, it's just sad, man. Really sad. That brought back a very sad story, and we'll never know. That's obviously 1,000,000% not Kwesi's fault. It's just too bad. We'll never know. Tyree Jackson, God rest his soul. Walter Roos, I don't really see any promise there. 6th round pick, 177. I don't know. When he was in there, it was like, oh my God, it was like a freaking turnstile. I don't know what to tell you. Will Riker, wonderful draft pick. 6th round, 203. One of the better kickers in the league. Love him. He can kick. He can kick the football, let me tell you. Love him. Michael Juergens, offensive line. He's had some moments, but generally speaking, only has actually played in 3 games. But yes, obviously, and then he's been working with, he's been behind Blake Brandrell, probably. This is 2024. Levi Drake Rodriguez, another great late pick, 7th round. So some hits. There were a couple hits, but a lot of them were misses. Juergens, I don't know if it was a miss or what, but we'll see if there's something. 7th round, 232. Looks like a starting level player, starting caliber defensive lineman. He's a great pick. Sometimes it's luck, though, like a blind squirrel finds a nut, type of thing. But I don't know. I mean, it's still a good pick, though. I mean, he still deserves credit for making the pick. The 1st round pick, 24th overall, Donovan Jackson. Looks like a starting guard in the league. Not like a superstar or anything, but looks like something. Ty Felton doesn't look like a whole lot. Receiver taken in the later rounds. The 3rd round, 102nd overall. Maybe special teams. I don't see a whole lot of promise there. And the other 3 guys, Tyron Ingram Dawkins, maybe too early to say. Kobe King, again, I just don't have much to say about that one. This guy did get in. Tyron Ingram Dawkins did get into a couple games, which is nice, but pretty much special teams kind of type of thing. Kobe King, linebacker. shoot. Yep, again, like a special teams kind of guy. Like there's not a whole lot to say just yet. And then Gavin Bartholomew, the tight end. I don't think he even played a second yet. So, still with the Vikings, I do believe. Yes. Injured reserve, though. Yeah, he was hurt right away. He was hurt. So, can't really say much there. So, the draft, again, like a D+. Nothing too exciting to talk about. Sorry that I had to go over every player. Maybe that was boring. I hope that wasn't too boring for you. But it's just interesting to see some of the picks that Kwesi made. And he hit on a couple of late picks. And, the first round, you had Jordan Addison. Whoa, I just hit pause accidentally. You had Jordan Addison. You had J.J. McCarthy, who was incomplete for me. Jordan Addison is a good player, but off-the-field stuff, don't know. Definitely a good draft pick, though, I think. But, a lot of misses along the way. Like not enough hits, basically. And the free agency last year was pretty lousy. Like a lot of injured people that did not make this team better. The Vikings could have easily made the postseason with a better center situation. It's painful seeing Sam Darnold go to the Super Bowl and Garrett Bradbury go to the Super Bowl, like your center and your quarterback going to the Super Bowl for both of the two different teams. It's just funny from last year. And then you have J.J. McCarthy, who was not protected by Ryan Kelly at all. In fact, not at all. The guy was either out with a concussion or just not good when he was in there because he's just done. He's done. He can't play anymore. Time to retire. That was just a terrible, terrible free agent signing and a terrible free agent period. You got lucky in 24, but when you're having to basically, because you've missed on so many draft picks, that you have to sign, like you have to try to hope for the best with these miracle free agent signings, you're probably not a very good general manager. And that's kind of what took place here with Kwesi Adofo Mensah. God bless him. I have nothing against the guy, but it just simply didn't work out. As for candidates for the job, I'm not the one to ask, unfortunately, at the moment. And maybe some candidates will come up and we'll do some reading, some research, and have an update coming up in these off-season shows. It's going to be, like people were talking about, this is going to be an interesting off-season. Well, now it's an even more interesting off-season. But unfortunately, you're going to have to wait until, like May to find out who your general manager is going to be, because Rob Brzezinski is going to be running the team for now. He is the cap expert, so good for him when it comes to free agency. Is he the best guy to run the draft? I don't know. Probably not. That's why this move should have probably happened sooner. But because, you bring in a guy at this point who may not be prepared and all that. But then again, you'd hope it's somebody that has been involved in this type of thing and has been keeping up with, the combine and all that. It is interesting that Mr. Adolfo Mensah was at the Senior Bowl, doing his job and everything. And, talking with reporters and everything, just like everything's normal. And the next thing you know, he gets fired. And it's also interesting that Derek Falvey texted Mr. Kwesi Adofo Mensah today telling him that I'm probably, you're going to hear news that I've been fired. And then Kwesi was just kind of like, I'm really sorry to hear that, really wishing you the best, that kind of stuff, that's terrible to hear that, that type of thing, very sad. And a little right after that, basically, you're going to hear that Kwesi's fired as well. So I'm thinking that text came right back like, yep, I'm gone too. What the heck? Kind of like Parisi Suter years ago with the Minnesota Wild. Oh, I've been bought out. Or Parisi was happy, so he'd get a chance to go to a different team, maybe to play a higher role than fourth line. And then Suter, who was not ever expecting to be bought out because he's the god of the Wild, and in his opinion, not anybody else's. Oh, Bill Guerin got off the phone from Parisi, called up to Suter. You're gone too, buddy. Well, bye. Well, bye. That's kind of how that took place. And, that's kind of what took place here. Not crapping on anyone here, not trying to be disrespectful, just these were probably the right moves. The Twins probably did the right thing, and I think the Vikings did too. The timing is strange. That's all I got to say about that. Just strange timing, and that's all there is there. Patrick Kane apparently is now the all-time U.S.-born point leader in NHL history. Patrick Kane passing Minnesota North Star, for a couple of years before they moved away. Great Mike Modano. Dallas Star. Great. Yeah, Mike Modano. Apparently that just happened. So congratulations, Patrick Kane of the Detroit Red Wings now. formerly of the Blackhawks, of course, who killed the Wild a million times. Gosh, I've gone into every topic here except the Timberwolves. Yeah, and they beat Oklahoma City, so there's your 4 teams right there. 4 teams conversation here. I don't think Bill Guerin or Tim Connolly are in any danger of being added to the list of firing, but you never know. You never know. I don't think it would happen this year, though. Crazy that could happen in the same half hour, basically. Crazy that something like this can happen. But I do agree with the move, and we will wait and see what happens in the future. With that, should I save the fan interaction for the upcoming show? I'm going to say yes. Because it's not related to Kwesi. I will save it for the next show. Okay? So I hope you guys are all right with that. Now I should read it now because you know what's going to happen. I'm going to lose track. I'll get to it now. Even though, yes, at Purple Mafia Show is on Twitter. I'm going to do it now. So Dave Hickey out of Iowa says, glad to see the Patriots are in over Denver and that piece of shit, Sean Payton. With that said, I'm sick of the Patriots, and I don't want another dynasty starting, so I'm rooting for Sam and the Seahawks. I understand. I can imagine a lot of people are like, not the Patriots again. Like, say if the Chiefs were winning again with a new quarterback. But I probably wouldn't mind that team as much, put it that way. Probably not, because I just don't like... I'm tired of the Mahomes, like, obsession, and I don't like... I don't know. And I can't stand Kelsey, but... that guy will definitely be gone. Next, from Dave Hickey out of Iowa, Joey, Richard Sherman is done. I'm sure you're going to hear from this clown a lot in the next 2 weeks. Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of. But their base is a lot like the Vikings of the Northwest. I went to the stadium in the year Seattle won it all. It was a Super Bowl preview against Denver in the preseason. Very interesting. That's very interesting. So, yep, I can understand. He's saying how the fan base is a lot like the Vikings in the Northwest. So, okay, I don't know. I kind of saw them differently, but no, they're probably okay. I just get irritated with the annoying ones. I'm sure every fan base has a ton of annoying people in it, so maybe I'm overreacting. Mad Martin out of Northern Scotland. There he is. I do believe this is Super Bowl related. I was saying congratulations to the Patriots and da-da-da. Mad Martin was saying... I don't really care, to be frank, but Diggs certainly made the right decision to leave behind the Vikings. I hope he gets his ring. I do too. Mad Malton, I do too. Best news... Okay, what are we talking about here? Let's see. Yep, he was responding to me saying that, yep, Brian Flores is back and all that. Yep, that's the other part of the news here. Brian Flores has signed a contract extension with the Vikings. If he does not receive a head coaching job this cycle, he will be the defensive coordinator. Nice raise, too. I think it's double-digit million now, like 10 million range a year. Mad Martin says, best news I've heard. I didn't even make Flores even a part of the show, but yes, Brian Flores is probably back. Mad Martin says, best news I've heard postseason. I did send you a call, but I guess you're not getting them. B-Flow's coming back certainly made me feel more positive about the 2026 season. So, Dave Martin... Dave, if you can in the future, try to send them to paladinolive@gmail.com. I don't know what's going on with Yahoo, if they're being stupid or what, because I want your call, and I love the effort you put into these calls. You know, I think the calls should be heard. I feel awful. Let me tell you, I feel awful that these calls were missed. It's like 2 or 3 calls that were missed this year, and I know one from 10A also for Timberwolves Explosion, and I don't understand what's happening. Like, why are they getting lost? Am I just being stupid or what? But I swear, hand on the Bible, right hand on the Bible, that I am not ignoring the calls. So there's no way I would do that. That'd be horrible. Horrible to do. So I believe there's a couple more here. Martin continues, says, I will say, Joey, that if this team doesn't win a playoff game next season, time for ownership to clear house and give B-Flow the job. Yeah, I think O'Connell is on his, if they are disappointing next year, I think he is. I think he's next to go. The new general manager probably would fire him. So, because, when a head coach has a new general manager, oftentimes if he's not really impressive, the general manager moves on and brings in somebody that he'd like to have. So, Kwesi's on borrowed time right now because of that. Unfortunately for him. Did I say Kwesi? K-O-C, Kevin O'Connell. Yes, Kevin O'Connell. I don't like to say K-O-C because of other reasons. We'll move on. Dave Martin says, looking back to last year, it's the system and not the player that let us down. I guess I was wrong about Sam Darnold. Yep, me too. I didn't think he would show up against the Rams, but maybe the Patriots will find a way to screw him up. We'll see. But in my defense, so were the Vikings. Yeah, the Vikings were wrong. It feels that Darnold is going to the Super Bowl in his first year with McDonald's and the Sea Chickens. Yep. Yes, McDonald and the Sea Chickens. Yep, that's the coach, McDonald. And that's indeed what happened. Dave Martin continuing saying, and last year he didn't come close to getting out of round one with KOC and the Vikings last year. Yep, how they slaughtered us. The Rams did. Same Rams team. Excuse me. It's crazy. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything because it's possible. Just want to make 100%. Yes. Yep. Everything did get read. So, yeah. Now we got all the fan interaction in. And, yes, feel free to comment about the Super Bowl up and coming some more. And, of course, Kwesi Adofo Mensah. And we'll talk about that on the next episode for sure. Going to wrap things up here. It's late. Got to clean up and chill and all that stuff. So, because all of that. Just wanted to get this out there and hope you have yourself a wonderful weekend. And hopefully the Vikings can make some good decisions here going forward. Go Patriots, by the way.